Let me tell you about Jonas.
All right, tell me about Jonas.
Jonas is 19 years old. He studies law in Munich. In his spare time, he likes to play soccer.
Sounds like a bright kid.
Jonas has a secret,
Secret? Oh boy, I love gossip. Give me the juicy details.
which he thinks he cannot share with anyone, not even with his best friend or with his parents.
Ooh, spicy. Though if all that's true, how do you know about it? Is this kid real or just hypothetical?
He's just too afraid of anger, rejection, and repulsion.
So he's too afraid of anger and rejection, and it's a secret that'll piss everyone off if they knew. I'm getting terrible vibes from this. He doesn't kill cats in his spare time, does he?
Jonas knows that he has to suppress his sexual drive for his entire life. And he also knows that there will never be a loving and fulfilling partnership that he can enter.
Man, I think that's true for a lot of guys out there. Ever hear of the incels? Yeah, they want a relationship, but they're typically spurned by society for whatever reason. Be it their looks, their mental state, their interests, the list goes on. But this kid is going to study law. He's active. I'm sure that if he just tries his best and works with what he's given, I'm sure he'll be able to...
Because Jonas is a pedophile.
Oh boy.
He's only attracted to female children between the ages of 6 and 12 years. But since he's aware of the consequences for the children, he has never given in to his sexual drive.
Well, I'd certainly hope not. That's disgusting and illegal. See, having laws does stop people from committing crimes. It's a nice little deterrent, having that societal consequence and the legal consequence that if a pedophile should ever molest a child, they will never have a normal life again. And they shouldn't, because they affected a child's life in the same way. I get that the conversation here is that Jonas probably shouldn't be looked down on for being a pedophile, but that just means that you're getting rid of one of the protections. You're taking away that societal pressure to not molest children. I think that should stay the way it is. I think that society shouldn't glorify or tolerate pedophilia.
What is pedophilia?
Having a sexual attraction to children or engaging in sexual interaction with a child.
And what is it not?
I don't know, maybe not having sexual attraction to children or engaging in sexual interaction with a child.
In the ICD-10, the International Classification System for Illnesses, pedophilia is coded as the sexual preference for pre-adolescent children.
A little more wordy than what I said, but sure, it works.
It is listed under the sexual disorders. Whether the persistent occurrence of sexual thoughts and feelings for pre-adolescent children have been acted upon or not is not relevant to the diagnosis.
So I think she's talking about how pedophilia is listed as a psychiatric disorder, and they tend to be lumped with sexual child abusers. Jonas would be considered a pedophile because he has a sexual attraction towards children. However, he never acted upon those thoughts, and that's good. If he feels like he's ill and he feels an attraction towards children, going to a therapist and talking about these feelings and working them out with a doctor can lead you to finding real ways to stop having these thoughts, or at least control them. I'm not an expert in this field, but I can tell you that getting rid of the societal pressure towards pedophiles to not sexually abuse children is not going to help. Just like how there is a law against rape, and society in general does not support rape. Regardless of what some feminists might say, we do not live in a rape culture. That's been discussed 1,000 times by this point, but I feel like this is similar to having a fetish for rape, or having rape fantasies. There's a fine line between imagining the scenario and having a sexual desire to see that fantasy played out, and going and actually raping someone. Now, if someone were to know of that kink, they'd probably call you names. They'd call you all sorts of things. Kinks should be done between two consenting adults and behind closed doors. Don't ask, don't tell, because I promise I won't ask.
Like every other sexual orientation, pedophilia can have different characteristics. For example, it can be heterosexual, it can be homosexual, bisexual.
Yeah, but they all focus on having sex with children.
Some pedophiles are exclusively attracted to children. Others are not exclusively attracted to children, but they're also sexually interested in adults.
That doesn't change them from being pedophiles. Being interested in adults and children is still wrong.
But their main sexual interest lies within children. Only if this main sexual interest is given, we talk about pedophilia.
Okay.
The vast majority of all pedophiles are men,
All right.
about 99%. Within the male population, 1 to 2% are considered to be pedophiles.
Out of all the population on Earth? You mean all the men on the planet? 1 to 2%? How'd you gather that statistic?
This translates to about 60 million people worldwide. This is as much as the population of Italy or of South Africa.
I think it's time we nuke Italy and South Africa.
Therefore, pedophilia is not an irrelevant phenomenon we can't simply ignore.
Of course not. We've got laws in place regarding pedophiles. Don't solicit sex from a minor, don't groom minors, don't molest minors, don't do anything sexual with a minor. Believe me, we aren't ignoring it, except maybe the UK.
Chances every one of you knows at least one pedophile are higher than that you don't know anyone.
The chances that I know a pedophile are higher than I don't know anyone? I mean, I've met a few pedophiles, but I don't tend to keep them around me in good company. Though I think she's trying to say that people are secret pedophiles and that you wouldn't know it if you met them. This is kind of like talking about gay people. Like, certain gay people, you wouldn't know they were gay unless they outright tell you. Like me, I'm not outwardly feminine in my appearance, but I have a boyfriend. You wouldn't know I was gay unless I told you. Though I don't think she's trying to conflate those two thoughts. Being a closet homosexual most certainly does not equate to being a closet pedophile.
We haven't found out yet why pedophilia occurs. There are biological, social, and psychological factors to it.
I'm sure there are a ton of reasons why someone could be a pedophile.
It occurs unrelated to social economical status and unrelated to educational level.
So you can have rich pedophiles, poor pedophiles, smart pedophiles, and dumb pedophiles. I'm sure Dateline NBC has put a few of those dumb pedophiles behind bars. Shout out to Chris Handsome. You looked a lot better when you were slim. Though this is just like you having rich murderers, poor murderers, smart murderers, and dumb murderers. All it takes is to cross a line to fulfill that urge.
So generally speaking, anyone could be born a pedophile.
Good God. The audience is completely static. I haven't seen a reception this poor since this year's E3, though Sony did pretty well. I bet they're so goddamn uncomfortable. I am. And I think that the speaker is nervous too, whether it's stage fright or the idea that she's defending pedophilia up on stage. Just blink twice real quick if they're forcing you to do this. I guess the metrics would look terrible if they had a guy up there giving the presentation on why we need to see pedophiles more sympathetically.
It is crucial to understand the difference between pedophilia and child sexual abuse, which is illegal and must always be.
Ooh, nice save. Yeah, pedophilia and child sexual abuse kinda go hand in hand. You can't have child sexual abuse without thinking of children as a target for molestation or as a sexual object.
Pedophilia is only the sexual preference for pre-adolescent children.
I'm curious how she's going to separate pedophilia from child abuse. I'm sure I might be wrong in the legality or how psychiatrists classify it, but I'm going to go with my gut here and say that if you're sexually abusing a child, you are a pedophile. Though I'm sure that they're trying to separate the pedophiles, those who haven't actually molested a child, and those who have. But they're both pedophiles in my eyes, and society sees them as pedophiles also. If you touch a child inappropriately, then you are a pedophile. And if you think about touching children inappropriately, you're still a pedophile.
The difference between child sexual abuse and pedophilia becomes very obvious when we look at scientific studies.
Child molesters are pedophiles. Pedophiles are either soon-to-be child molesters or are too pressured by society to do it. Should a pedophile be charged with child molestation? Of course not if they haven't done it. But should pedophilia be considered a sympathetic condition to have? No, I don't think so. If someone comes to you as a pedophile, I think it's best that you keep your children away from them and make them stay away from schools and other places where children might frequent. I think that a pedophile should sign up to a registry, not as a publicly known sex offender because he isn't one, but to one that will keep track of him and be sure that he hasn't acted on anything, or if he's living within the boundaries of some place where children are. Not to oppress him, but to protect children and himself from his urges. You don't give a person with violent or suicidal thoughts a knife, do you? Of course not. You hide that shit. Don't make it accessible to them so they won't have the urge. It'll bring both of them and the community peace of mind.
Think about it for yourself. What do you think? What percentage of child molesters are pedophiles?
All of them. In order to sexually assault a child, you must have sexual feelings towards that child. Have you ever tried fapping to something you don't find sexy? You go all limp and you just have to break out the furry porn again and you're back in business.
Have a guess.
100%.
Is it 20%?
100.
40?
100.
60? Maybe even 80%?
I would call those who are guilty of molesting children a pedophile about 100% of the time. That sounds pretty fair, right?
In fact, scientific studies indicate that only 20 to 30% of all child molesters are pedophiles.
Bullshit. So only 20 to 30%? What about the rest? Are they not pedophiles? They were just in it for the free in-flight movie? The street cred? What the fuck do you mean it's only 20 to 30%? Again, I might be wrong about the scientific studies claim child molestations happen, but it's generally something I don't go researching. I'm already on a list thanks to this video and my Google searches about pedophilia just to try and fact check this shit. I looked around, I couldn't find a single study that suggested that only 20 to 30% of all child molesters are pedophiles. So I'm looking forward to seeing her explain this.
The vast majority of perpetrators are not pedophiles, but they're sexually interested in adults.
Didn't you say near the beginning that pedophiles can be both interested in children and adults? So if that's true, wouldn't a person who is sexually interested in adults but still assaults a child sexually be considered a pedophile?
Children can easily become victims of child sexual abuse because of their loyalty and because of ease of access.
So you're telling me that because children are trusting in adults and are just around, they're easier targets for non-pedophiles?
For example, a stepfather might abuse a stepdaughter because he feels anger or jealousy towards her mother.
The definition for pedophilia is the act or fantasy on the part of an adult of engaging in sexual activity with a child or children. A stepfather who sexually abuses his stepdaughter, regardless of what he's feeling, is a fucking pedophile. If you get sexually involved with a child, no matter if you find them attractive or not, you're still a stinking pedophile.
Not every pedophile abuses children.
No, not every pedophile abuses children, thank God. Control yourselves, you know who you are.
And not everyone who abuses children is a pedophile.
Wrong. Every person who sexually abuses a child is a pedophile, by definition.
Differentiating between these two groups is essential.
Differentiating between a group of people who have committed a crime and those who haven't, I agree. Doing that is essential. We'd be throwing innocent people in jail. I'm looking at you, Europe.
Let me be very clear here. Abusing children is wrong without any doubt.
Ooh, man, again, nice save. For a moment there, I thought you were trying to say pedophilia is okay. Everyone was just this close to molesting a child. Oh, but it's alright, because they aren't really attracted to children. They were just jealous of their mother, or some other stupid shit.
But a pedophile who doesn't abuse children has done nothing wrong.
In the eyes of the law? No. Morally, if he's ever masturbated to the idea of fucking a little girl, then yes, morally he's wrong. Though I think this talk is attempting to dismantle the stigma against pedophiles. Good luck with that.
I want to quickly summarize where we are at the moment.
The gist of the talk so far is that there's a difference between pedophiles who touched kids and those who haven't. So we shouldn't treat all pedophiles the same. And, oh, by the way, not all child molesters are pedophiles. They were just jealous of those fabulous shoes, Martha. They were so upset that they just found their way right into molesting a child. Poor dear. He's not a pedophile, though, so don't worry about that.
According to current research, pedophilia is an unchangeable sexual orientation, just like, for example, heterosexuality.
Holy shit. She did it. Heterosexuality is the same as pedophilia, guys. Come on, you're just being bigots. Let the pedophiles be accepted. They didn't do nothing wrong. They're good boys. Them pedophiles are just like you and me.
No one chooses to be a pedophile. No one can cease being one.
I'm surprised she's not making a correlation between homosexuality and pedophilia, honestly. Like, when I was growing up, homosexuality was one of those things to be ashamed of. You hid it in the closet, and you were not welcomed by most of society. I'm really surprised she's not comparing the two, but instead to heterosexuality. I guess to try to make it more normal, but homosexuality is pretty normal in our society these days, so I don't know.
The difference between pedophilia and other sexual orientations is that living out this sexual orientation will end in a disaster.
Yeah, turns out molesting children isn't really a good thing to do. Being a pedophile isn't a very good thing to be. Who knew? Turns out society doesn't like people fucking their kids. The great bunch of bigots. They should just be sympathetic to the poor, oppressed pedophile. If you're a pedophile and you don't think you're a serious threat to children, then keep that shit to yourself or tell a therapist. If you have the urge to molest children, seek help immediately. It doesn't have to be public, but you should absolutely find help for the urges. Being a pedophile is not something to feel sorry for. It's a potential risk.
So let's think about Jonas again.
Jonas, the law-studying, soccer-playing pedophile. What about him?
How can we help him not to cause such a disaster? How can we help him not to live out his sexual urges?
Have him find help. Talk to therapists. Sign into a registry if he has to. He doesn't have to be labeled a sex offender, but he should be marked as a risk of being one. Whether the risk be low or not, if he's having fantasies about having sexual relations with children, he should be with a psychiatrist. He should be getting help. All these things are already on the table. There are therapists specialized with sexual disorders. Confidential. Easy.
How can we prevent child sexual abuse?
The best we can do against child sexual abuse is to have laws against it and have parents informed. Should someone come out as a pedophile, there should be precautions.
In fact, scientific studies indicate that one of the strongest predictors for child sexual abuse committed by pedophiles is social isolation.
Social isolation, huh? There are a lot of mental disorders that stem from social isolation. I have a feeling that she's going to try and somehow make the idea that pedophiles are stigmatized and generally pushed away from society as a reason for why they're doing it. No, honey, the reason why they're doing it is because they're attracted to children and they had the urge to do it, or they were just jealous of your dress. I'm not going to let that go, am I?
People who can't tell anyone that they're pedophiles logically won't get any help.
Yes, something I agree with. People are scared to come out and say it, but if they talk to someone they absolutely trust and tell them there's a problem, there's a system for people who feel this way. There are people who will help you do away with those urges, and it'll help you feel better if you talk about it. These things exist.
For example, they can't tell their friends that they can't go to the beach because children in swimsuits might be there as well.
Go get help. Sounds like a broken record at this point, but it astounds me more that she thinks there's no system that's currently in place for something like this. I get that it's stigmatized, but there's such a thing as patient-doctor confidentiality. If you tell them, they can't tell anyone else, though not you admitting to molesting a child outright, then that's against the law and you will absolutely have the police called. At least that's how I understand it.
They can't get support for situations they might not control entirely. And they can never be completely frank with someone else.
Yes, they can, and yes, they can.
We can make a difference for Jonas. We, as a society, can be there for him.
It's not society's obligation to be there for him. He has to take personal responsibility and actually seek help. If he comes out as a pedophile, people absolutely will feel different towards him. His whole social dynamic will change, but it must. This is you coming out as saying, I have fantasies about molesting children. You can't socially engineer society to feel comfortable towards that in any manner. On average, thoughts against pedophilia are universally negative. If it's a loved one that comes out and says it, it should be the problem of that person and their support structure, not society. Society doesn't need your dirty laundry. We're all busy trying to hide our own.
At the moment, we live in a world that already excludes pedophiles because of their preference alone.
Yeah, but you have to understand, pedophiles are generally not wanted around in society because they might rape one of their children, mentally scarring them for the rest of their life.
Someone who's lonely and excluded from society has little to lose and is at much higher risk to commit a crime, like, for example, child sexual abuse.
So it's like this. Hey, you better treat those pedophiles with respect, or else they're going to come and rape your children. Not exactly the best message you want to send. There's a reason why they're excluded, and I don't think having them closer to society will exactly help out their urges. If a pedophile is going to rape a child, then they're going to do it regardless of whether or not they are in or out of society.
Children can easily become victims of child sexual abuse because of their loyalty and because of ease of access.
So you don't want to separate pedophiles from society. Instead, you feel like they should be welcome. Despite the ease of access was one of your reasons why children can be easily molested.
Ease of access.
We can make Jonas feel that he stays a valuable member of our society, although he's a pedophile.
Pedophiles are valuable members of society. I guess they pay taxes just like everyone else, but I think we can do without outwardly expressed pedophiles in the public.
Right now, most of us feel discomfort when we think about this scenario. And most of us feel discomfort when we think about pedophiles.
No fucking kidding. Your argument isn't exactly helping it either.
But just like pedophiles, we are not responsible for our feelings. We do not choose them, but we are responsible for our actions.
Yes, we are responsible for our actions. We can control our feelings, but being a pedophile isn't the same thing as being sad, angry, or happy about something. It's entirely different. If a pedophile cannot control his urges and he feels that he is a big risk to the community, then he should say something to someone he trusts. so they can help find the ways to curb his impulses. Society doesn't need to be open to pedophiles. That social pressure keeps pedophiles from getting special treatment in society. It stops people from wanting pedophilia recognized as a valid sexual identity. It stops people from allowing pedophilia, this love at any age crap. If you're an adult and you want to date a senior, then by all means. But children do not understand these things. Even if they think they do, they don't. It fucks them up. For the sake of children and society, we shouldn't allow pedophilia to be normalized. Sympathy can go on a case-by-case basis. But sympathy shouldn't be given because, oh, wah, I can't have sex with a child. It should be, I need help. Please, get me help.
And we must make a decision. It is in our responsibility to reflect and to overcome our negative feelings about pedophiles.
No, normalizing pedophilia isn't acceptable under any circumstances. There are systems in place to help deal with sexual urges and thoughts. Seek a therapist. Don't make pedophilia accepted. Pedophiles aren't always born. They're created too. And normally it's those who are molested as children.
And to treat them with the same respect we treat other people with.
No, pedophilia as an idea is not deserving of respect. Pedophiles who have not assaulted a child are sick. They need help. Pedophiles do not need respect. They need mental help. Pedophiles should not be respected. I know this is a slippery slope fallacy, but what comes after respect? Rights, surely. I don't believe that pedophiles as a sexual identity should have rights. Pedophilia should not be protected like homosexuality or transsexuality are.
We should accept that pedophiles are people who have not chosen their sexuality and who, unlike most of us, will never be able to live it out freely if they want to lead an upright life.
Pedophiles are people, yes. They should have basic human dignity. They should be treated like humans, not as animals. Society shouldn't allow them to express themselves freely in their pedophilia. Pedophilia is wrong. And I know you want us to get rid of the hate towards pedophiles, but there's a reason why they're hated. It's not as if society in general are just treating pedophiles unfairly because of an arbitrary characteristic like skin color or hair color or eye color, something you truly can't control. I'm not sure if pedophilia can be something you're born with, but I absolutely know that it's something that can be learned and taught. We shouldn't let society remove the stigma on pedophilia because it's absolutely wrong to the core.
We should accept that pedophilia is a sexual preference, a thought, a feeling, and not an act.
It's a thought about raping your daughter. It's a thought about molesting that cute little boy across the street. While I agree that we shouldn't punish people who have done no wrong, people who are absolutely open in their pedophilia deserve the bullshit that comes at them. I know I keep saying this, but we can't normalize pedophilia in the West. Not okay. And this has no connection to homosexuality or transsexuality because that's done between two consenting adults. Fantasizing about fucking children is not okay, no matter how much of a social responsibility you might want to see it as to accept them.
We should differentiate between child sexual abuse and pedophilia.
Yes, in regards to law, we should separate the pedophiles who just imagine molesting children compared to pedophiles who actually rape children. I think she's trying to get that not all pedophiles rape children, which I can agree with, but she's also trying to say that not all molesters are pedophiles, which is retarded.
We shouldn't increase the suffering of pedophiles by excluding them, by blaming and mocking them.
Pedophiles who are openly pedophile are just opening themselves up to ridicule. People have freedom of speech in my country, meaning I'm allowed to call you a child molesting monster if I want to. If you're openly pedophile or in support of pedophilia, you should be ready for all the social backlash that will come with it. It's like being openly Nazi or communist. Sure, you didn't kill anyone, but your belief system, should you openly express it, will get you mocked. That's true for everyone, not just pedophiles.
By doing that, we increase their isolation and we increase the chance of child sexual abuse.
So basically she's saying it's all our fault that child sexual abuse happens. It's all our fault. We need to be accepting of these pedophiles, not pushing them away. They didn't do nothing except imagine fucking a child. Is that so wrong? Of course it isn't, you bigots. There's tolerance, and then there's this.
Only if they make themselves recognizable, because they're not afraid of punishment, of anger and rejection, can we better understand the causes of pedophilia, and we can improve their treatment.
Didn't you say that pedophiles were born that way and there's no way of changing it, like heterosexuality? She's flip-flopping on a lot of things. Pedophiles can't change who they are. They were born that way, she says. If we accept pedophiles, we'll be able to better identify the cause and then give them better treatment. Okay. Or how about just telling them to seek help from psychiatrists? You know, I feel like I should leave a number to one of these organizations at the bottom of the video. I keep repeating myself, but just Google it. I'm sure there's one in your area.
We can help them accept their sexuality and help them learn to refrain from acting on their sexual urges which cause harm to children.
Oh, so suddenly you care about the children? I'm sure you've always cared about the children, but you say, let the pedophiles in. Making them the other from society will only make them more likely to rape children. And then pedophiles can rape children more easily because of the loyalty of the child and the ease of access. And then you've got, we should be more tolerant and respect pedophiles. They were born that way after all. They're like heterosexuals. And then you go to, we should let them have no fear to be pedophiles. They can come forward and can get help for their sexuality, I guess. It's either a sexuality or it's an illness. Because if you respect it as a valid sexuality, as you seem to want to, why bother seeking help for it? Society is changing. It's accepting more of pedophilia. It's not an issue anymore. Why seek help if I'm not going to have a reason to?
We can encourage them never to commit child sexual abuse. We can help them refrain from entering dangerous situations they might not control entirely.
Yes, we have laws in place. What about Jonas? In the beginning you said he was aware of the effect it has on children and yet has never given in to his sexual drive. So it seems that the current system we have now, that being discouraging pedophiles from being child molesters, seems to be working.
And we can prescribe medication. This approach has already been successful.
Okay, so you just admitted that there are systems in place that help pedophiles subdue their feelings towards children. Thank you.
In the last 10 years, more than 9,500 people have received help.
Basically just discrediting herself. Society doesn't need to change to welcome pedophiles. What needs to happen is that there needs to be a wider push to have these people find help.
In a prevention network called Kein Täter werden, which means don't offend in English.
Thanks for clearing that up. I wasn't even about to try to pronounce it.
At university hospitals in Germany. The last survey shows that 98% have never committed child sexual abuse.
All right, that 2% worries me, but go on.
Unfortunately, this program is not going to eradicate child sexual abuse, but it is the first step in the right direction.
I agree, getting help for your pedophilic thoughts is a step in the right direction.
Pedophiles who have received treatment have a better understanding of who they can turn to in order to prevent abuse before it happens.
Okay, so you're just saying, again, that there's a system in place and it's already helping people fight their urges. It would seem that society hasn't stopped them from coming out and attempting to get help, though. This last bit is kind of discrediting to your entire pedophiles need respect to get help nonsense.
Most of you might ask themselves now, why is she telling us that?
I have to admit, I'm pretty curious as to why you had this talk at all.
5 years ago, I first heard about Jonas's life.
Okay, so Jonas is a real person, hopefully one of the 98% that went and got help and didn't molest a child.
prior to that, I have never really thought about pedophilia, and I had just adapted the prevalent societal view about it without never really questioning it.
Like any normal person, you grew up with the idea that pedophilia is wrong, because it is. So is rape. Doesn't mean rapists need to be treated with respect, does it?
I felt anger and disgust about pedophiles.
Pedophiles rape children. There's nothing to like.
My perspective has been completely changed by hearing Jonas's story.
So, by hearing Jonas's story, you've come out in support of pedophiles? Don't you think that maybe he's only representative of a very small amount of... How many did you say?
60 million people worldwide.
Ah, yes. Thank you.
Hearing about his cruel fate and understanding the difference between child sexual abuse and pedophilia.
Pedophilia is the gateway to child abuse. You might not have raped a child yet, but without the proper treatment, you just might.
As a medical student with a background in psychology, I feel it as my responsibility to help others overcome and escape wrong stigmatization and to have a positive impact on our future society.
So you have a personal responsibility to bring respect and rights to pedophiles. Are you sure this isn't just because trans people already have someone to speak on their behalf? Homosexual rights have been pretty much secured in the West, and black people already have equality with whites? I think you're just looking for something to fight for. You saw that society hates pedophilia, so you latch onto that and try to influence society into thinking differently. Not gonna happen. You're free to try, though.
By changing our view about pedophilia as a society, and by offering them support and therapy.
You've already established that a system is in place, offering support and therapy. So the main talk here is an attempt to try to get society open its mind to pedophilia. Like, it's just grown men attempting to fuck children. Why is this so hard for society to accept? Can't you just see that I'm trying to make society a better place? Think of the children, you bigot. Keeping children away from pedophiles will make pedophiles rape them more. It makes them stronger. This video is so long, and I'm already just about done with this girl. Thank God there's only less than a minute left.
We can help millions of people to live better lives, and we can effectively reduce child sexual abuse. No one is responsible for their feelings, but everyone is responsible for their actions.
Yeah, you're allowed to think certain things, but your thoughts don't deserve respect. Your actions do. If you're a pedophile, you don't deserve respect just because you're a pedophile. You need to seek help. Then and only then I'd say you're eligible for some form of respect, because at least you're trying to stop the problem. This woman has done nothing except talk about how it's society's fault that pedophiles assault children because we exclude them. She wants to tell society to be more open-minded and respectful towards pedophiles because she met one that was decent to her and told her a story about how he'll never be able to fuck a child in our society, and he felt bad about it. Oh, I'll never feel love. You can, just not from a child, you weirdo. Get help.
I thank you very much.
You're welcome. My God, look at the audience. Are they clapping because they're obligated to, or do they actually agree with this shit? Man, a lot of them are very unimpressed, and so am I.